Okay, so let me just make sure that the sound is on. All right, sounds good. Okay, for the stream, and then I'm going to go back to switching over to the Logitech. Okay, so last time, our first class, we went over, selecting references, how to, selecting a reference, the rule of thirds. We did little value studies in a thumbnail, or slightly larger, whichever. Some of you had like little sketchbooks. And today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to take our concept or our composition, and we're going to start putting it on the canvas. So what we need to do first is what we're going to keep it. We're going to do like basically we're going to tone the canvas. We're going to put in our rule of thirds grid, okay? And that's going to help us lay our sketch out, okay? And then we're going to put in what's called the grisaille or the grayscale of the image. We'll block that in. And then, time permitting, we'll put in our darkest darks and our lightest lights. But before we do that, after we sketch it, since we're working in oils, we have the opportunity to wipe out some of the lights. So we might do that first before we put in our darkest darks and lightest lights. So first things first, we're going to tone our canvases. So what I like to do is I think I'm going to keep mine pretty warm. So I'm going to take some of the burnt sienna. Now, burnt sienna is basically, it's dark orange, okay? Burnt sienna is dark orange. And the opposite of orange is blue. Oh, you're going to need a palette knife. You guys have palette knives too? All right, to mix your paint. We mix our paints with a palette knife so that we don't get our brushes all full of all different colors of paint that may or may not mix very well on our canvas and can create, in most cases, mud when we're working full color. In this case, we are actually going out of our way to make mud because it makes for a nice neutral background, the muddy color. So I'm going to take a little bit of cerulean blue to start. Let's see. We'll put that in. Let's see. Now it's still pretty warm, so I think I want to tone it down, make it just cool it down a little bit more, so that by adding more of the blue, I get to tone it down and neutralize it. Now you could keep it warm or cool. It all depends on, okay, what are the colors in your reference. Now right now I just have my black and white reference out. Okay. So all right, so maybe I want to go back in and make this a little bit warmer, just a tad. Okay, so you see I'm approaching some kind of, it's a grayed out brown. Let's see how this, you know what, I'm going to keep this to the side. See, I changed my mind. All right, so I have this that's a little bit darker, but I think to tone my canvas, I'm going to use it. I'm going to have a little bit more warmth than that. So I'm going to have a warmer shade of mud with which to tone my canvas. And I think I'm going to save that color to, throw in a grid and do a sketch so that it shows up on the background and it's a little bit darker. Okay. Once I have that color, I can actually test it on a large flat brush here. And see on the side here, I just have a little bit of turpentine and I'm going to keep a rag handy. And in this case, I don't really have a rag. What I have are my Scotch shop towels. And I'm going to take a little bit of solvent because I don't want the paint to be really thick. I kind of want to make a wash on the canvas. So that's what I'll do here. Put a nice thin washy layer, even. I'll try to make it as even as possible. And I'm going to paint around the outside edge too. I like to have a finished edge on my paintings in case, It gives you the option of not having to buy a frame if you have a finished edge. So if you continue the painting around the edge, you can save yourself. Oh, I just hit my camera. There we go. All right. On that brown, and I kind of like it that this brown color that I picked isn't it's a little bit toned down the orange in the burnt sienna by adding some of that cerulean blue. And again, I want to be able to see through, you know, to the canvas. So we don't want to put this on really opaque. Kind of more like a watercolor than an opaque. Really. Let's get some more solvent on there. Paint around that edge. Painting around the edge. See that? No, it's not looking very even right now, but once I get, you know, the initial layer of paint on, I'll go over it with the brush and even it out some. Now, not all artists care if it's you know that even or not. It depends on what the effect is. In this case, where you know that there's a burst of light, you can always, you know, make that thinner. Uh, I just find that, well, the simplest thing to do is to try to make it even first, and then so that we have this. We start out with a gray, basically a gray, something that reads as gray on our canvas. Okay, all right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to kind of even this out. I have a brush hair in here because, of course, I don't always use the most expensive brushes. So I got to get that out of there. Okay, there we go. Even that out. Sometimes that involves going up and down. You know, then I might go across to pull it that way, and eventually you get this pretty even. You know, it's starting to even out. You'll see a glare. You see a glare on the screen because it's very wet with the solvent. I think I might have even just splashed my computer, which is sitting right here, with paint and turpentine. So you know, you don't have to really labor over this too much. I find that if you go down and you go across, you know, 2 or 3 times, that's sufficient. And you know, I could still see through the canvas to the canvas. I didn't. You don't want to completely seal the canvas. Now, you might already have. You can also, like Joyce did. Joyce Turner. You have. You had yours. It had the gray. Was that acrylics that you put on there? Yeah. You could also. The other option that I also do is you can paint neutral gray, a neutral gray ground in acrylics on your canvas and let that dry. That's another approach that I've used. Either is approach works fine. Okay. All right. So I'm going to be done with this uh, brush, this large flat brush here. So I'm going to right away. I'm going to try to get. I dipped it in some of the turpentine, and I'm going to, you know, wipe out, squeeze out the color onto my towel here. I don't want the paint to dry in my brush. Not that it would. I'm just going to put that over to the side. Okay. All right. Okay. So now my next goal here is to draw a rule of thirds grid on here. And I'm going to use my darker, I'll use my darker color that I mixed, my darker gray for that. You can also just use thicker paint of the previous color that you mixed. Let's see, that might be, maybe that's better. I'll use the darker one for my actual drawing. Put a little solvent in there. And I'm using a smaller round brush. So we want to divide the canvas in thirds both ways. Okay, so I'm probably going to eyeball that. And what I can do is, once I'm going to just put little marks, let's see, here. And what I can do is I can use my paintbrush to measure that, and I'll see if I can get, if I measure that, if that distance will get me 2 more times across to the edge. 1, 2. Oh, and it actually does. Okay, so this one is not as accurate, but this one right off the bat was. So here, let's see. There we go. So I mark that. And what I want to do too is I want to take that distance and I'm going to go to the middle of the canvas and I'm going to make another mark there, because in order for me to get this right, I want to be able to connect, connect my dots, so to speak, right? And then I'm going to go back up to the top here and mark on the top edge. And that's going to help me get my lines. Okay, so what should I do? Ooh, I'm going to get another tool real quick. Don't worry. What I can do is I can use, maybe I can use this paintbrush to help me. All right. Or a piece of paper. Palette paper. Make sure that that's straight. Ooh, ooh, that's good. Actually, just by touching the edge of that paper, I wonder how that works. Ooh. See, wow, I made a new discovery today that made this like super easy. I take that straight edge and just, because that background is so wet. This works. See, now that seems a little bit off, but I think I can eyeball it better with this paper. Yeah, look at that. Cool. All right. not draw. I might not draw it. I might like that better. That's pretty cool. So you can either draw it in, or I just pick it up with another piece of paper. Oh, I like it. All right. Okay, so now I got to figure out how to divide it in thirds this way. So I got to eyeball this. Let's see. All right. Let's see if this gets me 2 more times down the picture plane by just using my brush as a unit of measure there. No, that's a little bit too much. Let's see if I do this. Let's see if that helps. Blend that in a little here. Let's see if that works. Measure with my fingers. 1, 2. This might still be too long. Yeah, it's still a little bit too long. All right. Oh, erase that. Okay. Okay, maybe the third time's the charm here. 1. The way that. And my fingers are being tricky today. 1, 2. Oh, no, that's a little bit short. Let's just see. All right, hold on. That's about okay. I can deal with that. All right. So let's see. I'm going to take this. Let's see if we can. I'm going to wiggle that back and forth that way. That way. And over here this way. All right. So I got that going. Now that'll dry so that it just has an empty space. I love that better. And you know what? If I want more, all I need to do is, let's see, I can etch it in at the end of my brush or a clean palette knife and pick it out. Okay, so there I got the grid that I need. Cool. Love it. All right, complete. Okay, so now I have the same grid that I have on my reference, that I have on my value study, and now that I have on my canvas. Okay, all right, so now the next thing is I got to do the sketch. I have to sketch things in. And basically what I want to do is I want to sketch in like some of the major shapes. Okay, so, and to check your angles, you use your paintbrush to check angles and transfer them over to to your paper, to your canvas. See, now in this case, it's a little bit on a, it's a little bit on a slant. Okay, it's skewed a little bit there. So let's see. Well, those verticals are going to be on that slant. So, and I can, of course, I'll use as a reference. You can just focus on one square at a time. For some of us, that's extremely helpful. Just focus on that. And let's see, I have that. And then this comes in like this. It comes down like that. And what my perceived horizontals, you see, they're also on an angle. So I have to make sure that I get that angle right. Okay, so that angle is like this. Okay. All right, so I'm going to take some of this darker paint, mix it a little bit, thin it out just a little. And the nice thing about working this way is, you know, if you make a mistake, all you need to do is wipe it off. So I'm just being very geometric, okay, with this, this here. And this comes in, okay, so that's at the same angle because the verticals are always together. This goes that way, so that comes up that way. I have that there, and I have this over here, okay? And you know what, while I'm here, because that, I want to record that dark, because I know that that's darker, I could just go ahead, right ahead here, just darken that shape right in there. And I also know that this reads as very dark. So I'll just put that just like that. I have that shape established there. Okay, and then I have, let's see, I have the edge of a window right here. So I'm going to sketch that in. So just like we did in our value study, we're basically value mapping here. We're mapping out the values, the shapes that the values make. And right now I'm focused on this square. The good thing about, you know, using this rule of thirds grid is that it does help us lay out, um, lay out our compositions. This comes down, oh, actually, this comes that way. It's a little bit out. It comes down on that same, this same angle. It has to come down this way. It goes through these squares, so I'm going to make sure I have that correct. So we'll make that reference right there. And I'm looking at this interesting shape here and how that comes out. Comes out this way. Comes this out. It's kind of like this, I think. So I'm going to make some more verticals here for these windows that I see up above that really are just, they read as, oh, they just read as like rectangles. And that, and then I have this one all the way to this edge. And then I know, like approximately here is where that top of that is. And I know what angle this is. I think I need to record these angles right here. So I have this angle up here. That. Oh, actually, going to be correct. It's really like this. I got to compare that. See, I'm not right. I have to fix that. It's got to be definitely more in perspective than what I have. So let's see. I know that this triangle shape is like, comes like this. There we go. So if I make that, that will be better. Yeah. There we go. Okay. I know I have on that same angle, I have this, I have that. Okay. So I'm going to make this a little bit darker here. Connect that together. And if I carry that over there, so that's that. That goes here, approximately. I know that that's all. Let's make a reference to that. And fix this up a little. Here, I erase that because that's still wet. And I really want to do, again, I have perspective lines, so I want to make sure that I get those right. So I think I'm going to throw some of those in here so that I can make sure that my drawing is going to be, technically correct. That and this. Okay, so I gotta come all the way up there, and it's about like this, right? And then it comes here, all the way down there. Okay, good. And this is rounded over here. That comes down below that. That's like gray around it. And there's lights, and there's another gray around that. And make sure that, so I might not, I'm going to keep this kind of angular here. I'm not going to get too far in the weeds with the actual shapes because I could always add that later, but in there. No, I have a shape here, here. Right now, any differences between light and dark, I'm just using a little bit more of the same paint. I haven't gone to mixing a color that reads as black yet. Again, we're just thinking in terms of shapes. Shapes and angles is what we're after. And you've probably heard me say this before, but you know, every shape is a correction. I mean, every mark is a correction, I should say. While I'm at it, I can take my rag. Now it's got some turpentine on it, and I can pull this up. Well, maybe I'll just leave that. I'm going to wipe this out a little bit. Not completely, but right, that. And then right where this is, I see that here's a connection right here, connecting to, I already marked that previously. Okay, so I want to check that angle. Okay, so that's got to come up just a little bit. It's got to come up here just a little bit. Okay, and then I can block in that shape. So let's say a third of the way down. And here, if I check this angle, right, the angle on the top of this void, it rises up on the right, but it dips down where the sidewalk is, where it meets the sidewalk. That angle is this. It dips down. So you have that perspective going out towards the left. There's a vanishing point that's out here somewhere. Okay. So, you know, that's why it's important to check your angles, especially when if you're dealing with like buildings and that kind of stuff, you need to, you know, you need to check your perspective that way. And here, this is interesting because in these doorways, you know, there's like a thickness to the wall, like it kind of recesses a little bit. And then there are these turning, you know, those turning doors that that are in the entrance here. That might not be a turning door, but it's still inset like that, I think. And you know, there's some perspective that goes into the building as well. In this case, not everybody has to deal with, you know, architecture, but for those of you that do, you know, at least you know how to handle that. Okay, so the center of, let's see, the center of this square is about here, and I know that this doorway it starts below that. So I'm going to draw that, and I know, you know, because of there's a vanishing point somewhere over here and out there that, I mean, I might not be able to see it. And in the case where you can't see it, oh, maybe I'll just go across. I'm going to draw through and go this way. So I know that it's got to go up in that direction. This. That will make these two doorways that are the same height in the correct perspective. So now that leaves me to, okay, now I just have to go ahead and mark where I see these shapes. this has a shape that's kind of, it's a little bit tapered. Where is that? It's about halfway up. So there. And then let's see. Have you can see how this. Let's see, now it's a little bit above. So here we go. Same angle, but a little bit above that. So that's where that goes. Here. And let me correct this. Let's see. This is kind of, again, it's that way. All right. Here, right? There, that is pretty much, it's pretty vertical over here. And let's see. I'm going to make this all just the same shade of gray for now. Add darker darks later. For now, this is just going to be that. There's, you know, people and stuff in front, so I'll have to put a reference to them in there too. For now, I think I'll just leave that. Here, I have that. I have this here, and that there, and this here. And again, we have this here, and some grayish in here. Okay, so this is looking up. Now, what we have here in that, it says the address 1501 Broadway. All right, so I'm going to go through, let's see, and put this, the whole doorway in here. And then I'm going to come down, and then I'm probably going to wipe out some things, because I think that'll be easier. I want to treat this as a whole shape first. And then I can wipe out. So this will technically, I'm going to continue on the other side. So let's see, let's make a reference there. Okay. There, there. And I know that record these shapes. I have a shape there that looks something like, right, there's like a little square over here, and it comes in a little bit, and then I have this, is that. There we go. Yeah. Let's see. You know, it's curved, it bows out, so we have to make sure we know that it's darker on either side. All right. So there's another shape here, rectangle here. Gonna walk around. I'm gonna stop right there for a minute before I continue. Take a look at what we got. Got some bold shapes. That's good. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good thing you're all you have is like a horizon. And then you have it, and then this, walking in. It's nice to have different, you know, different types of seeds. I like that. Oh, I love that. Yeah. I love this first you have. Right. No, that's okay. But you still have, you know, geometric shapes and angles and things. And, you know, as long as you're, you know, comparing your angles, you're good. Okay. And, you know, sure. Now here, let's see. You could probably help yourself by finding out where the vanishing point on this is. Right? Um, somewhere, oh, here. So where's, okay, so there's the street, right? Or that's a potential line that way. And then like here, so I would say it's somewhere over here. And then this way, that makes your job easier, I think, of trying to figure out. You know, you could also have more than one vanishing. You know, that's always something. The sign itself has its own angles here. If I look, all right, so wait, so if I go here, actually, it ends up in the same place. Yeah, so we have that, and then that. Mm-hmm. So it's somewhere over here. So yeah, figuring that out can help you. You know, I'm going to use my phone as a work plan. I'm going to go around and explain these little things because I think that it would be helpful for people to see that. All right. Let's see. I'm going to start that program on here and on my phone. Boop, 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 boop. Let's see. There it is. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay, it's going. I'm gonna switch my. Oh, wrong one. Haha. There we go. Okay. All right. Gonna walk around real quick. Explain these different things. Okay. So Suzanne has this nice snow scene. She's got it in the rule of thirds grid. She has her value study, which is really pretty. Now, and then here she's starting to lay it down on the canvas. And just one of the suggestions that I had was that because, I mean, there are definite perspective lines in this, okay? And we see, like, there's the sign. It goes off, that line goes this way. Mm-hmm. And then we have this. So the vanishing point is somewhere over here. And so knowing that can help us figure out, how to make that whole process easier of laying out our composition.
I kind of pinpointed it right there.
Yeah. So, yeah, we can look at that. Now, you can have more than one vanishing point, of course, but, just figuring that out for yourself, and you can always do that by looking at the references. Now, before, when I showed you on mine, okay, like, you can't see the vanishing point here. You can't see it. It's somewhere out in the distance over here. See, if I look at those perspective lines, okay, they're going out there somewhere, which is okay. And then in that case, we rely on, okay, transferring our angles. Okay, that's what we do there. Okay. So let's see. Now we have Barry. He's working on the same picture that I'm working on, and he's got a good start. He's got some great shapes in there. He's getting it technically correct. It looking really good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. He's got a great start. And in this example that Joyce is working on, she's doing this nice moonlight scene. She doesn't have perspective lines, but she's got a beautiful horizon line and the beautiful moon glow. So that's what she's working on. And she's, getting in her grayscale. Okay, and let's see, what do we have? Okay, so Kim doesn't really have, she's got the telephone wires there, which are somewhat, that is a form of a perspective line. Although, even if they're droopy. But as you can see, she has, all those interesting shapes and angles and lines that are within the cars that are in her reference over here. So, using the same technique, comparing your angles in order to get your drawing technically close to where it needs to be. So, good job. Everybody's got a good start. I'm going to switch back to, not the webcam, but the logic. Okay, here we go. Back to our surface. So we're just going to keep on going. Keep on going with, getting our drawing and getting, some of our shading in here. Just, in general, just laying out. Still just using that combination. I'm not putting in darkest darks yet. I'm just trying to get grays in here. Let's see. Actually, we have here, so I got this here. Now I can go in a little bit and I'm just like darkening just with this one shade that I have. Now all of this is going to get a lot more firmed up, as I go along. This is kind of dark over here. Well, we'll put in the darker darks later, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to, this whole doorway here is pretty dark. Just block that in. There's a door there. Comes down, and there's back behind, there's this, that. Let's see. And have this over here. That doorway, that door is coming because it's one of those, flippity-doo doors. It's a flippity-doo door. Actually, let's just put that here. You need to bring that this way. Let's see. Again, I gotta, still figure that. All right, I'm trying to work from general to specific here. So let's just block this all in as one thing. I can go in and turn this up some other way. So I got this. It's actually coming down. That door. So later on, when I put more darks in, then that's going to make more sense. But for right now, this is okay. This works out. I want this to be a little bit wider. I'm going to wipe that out really quick. I don't want. Okay. All right. There we go. Need to. Some salt on my brush, and I can also pick that out here like this. See that? Picking this out. And I can pull. Sometimes it's easier to take away than it is to put. So I wipe out with that brush some of the lighter areas here. That can be helpful. And let's see, this here. Okay. good enough. I don't have to lever too much. I'm going to move up more into here and go back to some of these shapes. Get some more heat mixed. More solvent. All right. Okay, so back up here, it's easy to want to procrastinate when you get to the more detailed stuff. So about, let's see, halfway, where that starts. This. That's to work on this here, shape of that there. And let's see, we got to assume that that window is going to be similar angle. That. Same. I think that window needed to be wider. So let's see, let's check. They're probably about the same width, I would say, right? That, yeah. This one might look a little bit wider, so let's take a look. Let's measure. Yep. All right, so that's good. Do that. All right. And windows. Now I gotta go back, put in that, I got that, that's coming up that way, right? And then, let's see, what do we have here? Ah, see now that's gotta come this way. That, and, you know, keep moving the table because I'm leaning on it. All right, so I need this little shape over here. On that side. Okay. Then, right where this is, let's see, towards the top there. Let me put these angles in. Okay, and then this comes in. So this is like, let's just say that's the top of the sign. That's the angle. Comes down. Huh. Okay. So this comes this is this way, and it comes and curves around that way. And that's where that connection is. Right there. And then there. And if I take that perspective this way, and I know that this is somewhere over here, comes up, let's see, here, here, comes out like that, and connects there. Okay. A little crazy there. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Let's see if we can get the shape good. Kind of like that. Let me just connect that for now. Just comes in like that, like that, like that. Some like that, like that. Of course, this whole, there's lights that go fine right there. Close that. Okay. So we do know though that this here is right. So I got a line there from this, this over here, and References there. Reference there. Here. Finally, that fades away. There we go. All right. Okay. Right. That. All right. So I know I got dark in this area. But, you know, I got all this lettering, so how am I going to handle that, right? So I think what I'm going to do is, okay, I know, you know, where the line of the text is at the bottom, so I think I'm just going to darken that, right? And I'm going to like negative paint around the overall shape around that text. You know, I don't want to get too, you know, wrapped around the axle there, but so here's that text. I know, you know, approximately where that is, so I'll just do that. And I can, you know, wipe out some of that one. Okay, so I know, okay, what shape is on that? What shape is on this side of the text? That's on the sign, the paramount. So generally kind of like this kind of shape. And then underneath. And then I have that, you know, you have the P. Where's the P? The P is about here, right? So, yeah, so if I go like that, I'll come in like that, around. You'll come into it a little bit here. And I'm just trying to be general. And, you know, like I said, you don't have to, not to worry too much about nitty-gritty details because that'll be for later. But, you know, for now, we just want to know the approximate placement or the boundaries. Where are the boundaries? Like, what's the shape of the boundary that those that the letters live in? That's kind of what we're going for. Right? So now, okay, so there's. I know that this is that. And I'm going to use the paint here. No, no, it's a big bold. That. And I can do some wiping out too. Let's wipe out. There. And my reference, this comes up like this. There's a little bit of a scroll on top here before we get into the medallion that's on top of the sign, and that's kind of like this. This over here. There's a little bit of a, you know, the sign gets attached to the building, right? These old signs. There is a shadow there too, but let's mark that first. There's another shadow over here, and another line to where the sign connects over here. So I got that. All right. So the other thing that I have to establish here is that, okay, I have we have the underhang from the sign to do. And that has its own little perspective that's in line with this. So I just have to judge. So I would say it is above center between. Well, I think it goes halfway. Maybe. Let's approximate that. And that continues this way. I need to make sure that it's perspective. Okay. So and then this. Then of course there's another shadow. All right. Okay. Let's line this, that, this, this. Check the angles. Gotta check the angle. Yep, it's a little bit. So let's get these things here. Let's see. What I want to do is record these, what are essentially parallels, underneath this sign here. Skinny ones over here. Middle. Actually, what I'm going to do after this is going to wipe out. Seen better. Okay. I'm going to get the paint out of my palette knife. Bit. So I got this rubber. I got my wedge. Rubber wedge. Probably use. Not going. Let's just get this overall shape. I know that there's lights under there. That overhang. Lights later. Let's see. This has to come more. So that correction later. That's pretty good. Okay, let's get the sheet firmed up a bit more. Okay. All right. So I didn't do, I left the text blank on this. And what I want to do is I want to see if I can lift, lift the lights out just for fun. I mean, we could always, I mean, obviously we can always paint these in later, but I think that it would be fun if we could see. That's not. Out. All right. Lift out the lights with some solvent. This, I like this atmospheric effect that I can get. Oh, that looks pretty cool. So let's. And if you look at the lights in this picture, like they're not like, it's not necessarily like straight, like a straight line type of thing. Like they're, like one might be up, the other one might be down within the channel of this. Isn't that cool how you can start to see the lights just by lifting the paint off? See that? Dipping it in solvent and then just keep on wiping it off. I love that. I love being able to see that. And you have that opportunity. So this is just another, uh, another variation on, wiping out. You can sometimes, use a brush would solve it. Now they also have these rubber tipped uh, paint remover tools, which I forgot to bring with me today. So I'll have to find them and bring those in sometime to show you some of this paint's already. So this channel here. I can go all around this sign. Now, I just by doing that, it's like already starting to have this glow to it that it didn't have before. Just by wiping out the beautiful lights. Now, I could probably go do that. Could do that with the actual lettering, but that's a detail that we want to leave for because those lights are a lot are smaller. So save that for another time. And here we go. Goes off in this direction. We got all these lights. There's nothing like city lights. Actually, any kind of nighttime lights. I love that. One of my favorite things about going to the city is, the lights, right? This. Actually, this part, like I'm just kind of doing some improvisation. I know the general feeling of the lights that they're kind of like they're not all straight. They're like up and down. They're a little bit staggered. They're not perfect, and that's what really gives it that. Like already, this has a really neat vintage feel to it. Just the grayscale. Sometimes I like paintings the way they come out in the grayscale. I like that a lot. Lights. I love lights. All right. All right. So I think that for this now there's tiny little lights that are in like perspective here, and I think I'm just gonna kind of like wipe it out with the brush, more or less. Trying to get the right angle though. That's my challenge here. Well, the good news is if I don't get it right, well, let me just try. I don't like the way that looks. I think that's okay. So I guess our time is getting close here to the end, unfortunately, today. Oh, but I think we made such good progress today, though. And let's see. Have line of lights here, there. The paint's still, it's starting to dry, but it's still, a damp enough that if you use a little bit of turpentine, you can still lift. Hmm? Okay, so lights underneath, lights up on top. Uh, now now I know that there's some white, some a value that reads white on top of this, but again, I mean, well, what I can do is I can just block out, or just take away where some of that text is, just to for placement, just make it wipe out the abstract shape. Actually, might be better for me to use this larger brush to take that out. Yeah, because I could scrub it. There we go. I have that. We have the Broadway. That's not over here. I don't know if it's going to come up or not, but let's take a look. Then I'll have my placement. There we go. All right, so I have the impression of where those letters will be. So I at least get a feeling for the tone that's within that sign there. And I know I have some more darks to add, but again, we're just going general with the gray, and we'll add more darks. There are still some things I need to sketch out here, but I'll save that for next time. All right. But, I think we all got a good start, right? How do you guys think? Any questions before we get cleaned up? Let's go. Yeah, it'll pretty much be dry it'll be dry by next week. So we'll just, we'll continue working. Overall, pretty good. You know what? While I'm here, I'm still thinking about it. I do want to make a reference to the street line here. So let me do that angle. There we go. There's a sidewalk. Thicker. Here we go. That. The nice thing about, drawing with the paint instead of a pencil or some other fine, uh, fine pointed implement is that, we end up being looser, which is a good thing. And it's nice, also too, with the paint, you could always wipe it off, wipe your mistakes off. You don't get everything, perfect. And every mark is a correction. So we can always, there's a shadow under there. That helps. That helps there. Okay. Reference. And my layout. That. Take a snapshot of this. Get that out of the screen. All right, so we're not done, but with this, but we are on our way to completing the layout and just sketching in the grayscale. We still need to finish the sketch, and then we're going to add in our darks and our lights after that. And as you can see, I wiped out some of the lights, the important ones, but I didn't go overboard on the details.
What's in our darks and our lights? Are we gonna use the same burnt sienna?
We're gonna use burnt sienna, but then we're gonna switch to ultramarine blue, which is a blue that's a darker value. And the burnt sienna with the ultramarine blue, that will give us our chromatic black that we'll use for our darker darks. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna stop the live stream. Thanks for watching. I know we had one student that couldn't make it. If you happen to be catching this on the replay, there's a link in the description of the video if you'd like to join us. Get the full syllabus and the materials, and you can join us remotely if you would like. The website address, I'm going to go back to, okay, it's ocartistguild.org. We're at the Ocean County Artists Guild in beautiful Island Heights, New Jersey. You can email us for more information at info@ocartistguild.org, or you can contact us by phone, 732-270-3111. And again, we're located in beautiful Island Heights, New Jersey, 22 Chestnut Avenue. If you don't know where Island Heights, New Jersey is, it's at the Jersey Shore. And we are right on the coast, on the Toms River, somewhere between, right in the middle between Long Beach Island and Seaside Heights or Island Beach State Park, just to give you some perspective. So if you're ever in the area, if you're, visiting from out of town, please stop by our arts nonprofit and say hello and come see the work in our galleries. Until then, have a fine day.